made a critical admission that the exact figures were incorrect and minor adjustments were made after data capturing errors were corrected. It was submitted that this affected the figures relating to the first respondent's win by 0.1%, but did not affect the result of the election. It's important to understand what the result of an election is. The result of the election is the declaration of a winner having reached the 50% plus one vote. No other thing. Any votes after that point have no bearing on the result of the election. The amendment by ZEC has no effect at all on the result of the election and the declaration as interpreted in this case. In fact, an error in counting and amendment of figures is envisaged in the Act itself, which makes the provisions of Section 110 subject to those of Section 67A. The law, therefore, allows for the adjustment, and again, if the applicant was aggrieved by the counting and the figures availed, he should have utilized the remedies availed to him by the Act. In this case, the applicant, in our view, needed more evidence than the mere admission by ZEC on the inaccuracy of the mathematical figures. On the case presented by the applicant on the irregularities allegedly committed by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, the applicant made several generalized allegations of electoral malpractices against the Electoral Commission. He made a startling submission that these generalized allegations would suffice to prove his case of irregularities without resort to the primary source evidence. The Electoral Commission nonetheless took time to analyze the allegations against it and produced clear and tangible evidence to refute the allegation, making it incumbent on the applicant to discharge the onus which was on him. The onus of proof, the onus to prove the case is not on the person accused. The accused person doesn't have to prove anything, doesn't have to prove innocence, and therefore the respondent in this case needed only to respond. Now, ZEC proved through the V11 forms produced that the allegation that some forms had been signed and not populated was false, and there appears to have been a deliberate fabrication of evidence with an intent to mislead the court. Without access to the sealed ballot boxes residues, this allegation simply remains as refuted. This enfranchisement of 40,000 teachers, the applicant alleged that some 40,000 teachers were denied their right to vote on the election day and that this had a direct effect on the result. The allegation, needless to say, was very general and unsubstantiated. It is not clear how the figure of 40,000 was calculated. There was no evidence from the teachers themselves that they were registered voters who wanted to exercise their right to vote and were posted against their will. On the contrary, it was shown by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission that some teachers had deliberately opted not to vote in favor of being posted to stations where such right could not be exercised. The Constitution gives every Zimbabwean citizen who is eligible to vote a right to vote. It is not an obligation under our Constitution to vote. There was no evidence, therefore, on how many of these teachers were registered voters. There was no evidence of the effect of this allegation, even if it were proven that would have affected the result. There is also no guarantee that every teacher would have voted for the applicant. The allegation relating to ghost polling stations or polling stations created at the time of voting lacked specificity and particularity, and were in any case disproved by the evidence adduced for the 23rd and 25th respondents. And these are the kind of allegations that would easily have been proven by the access to the evidence in the unsealed, in the sealed ballot boxes. In the final analysis, the court finds that the applicant has failed to place before it clear, direct, sufficient, and credible evidence that the irregularities that he alleges marred the election process materially existed. In other words, there was no proof of the happenings of these irregularities as a matter of fact. There would therefore have been no purpose for this court to go further and inquire into the question whether such irregularities materially affected the election result. As already indicated, it is an internationally accepted principle of election dispute that an election is not set aside easily, merely on the basis that irregularities occur. There is a presumption of validity of an election. This is so also because as long as the election was conducted substantially in terms of the Constitution and the governing laws, it would have reflected the will of the people. It's not for the court to decide election. It is the people. It is the duty of the courts to strive in the public interest to sustain that which the people have expressed their will in. Therefore, the application ought to be dismissed. In the result, the following order is made. The application is dismissed with cause in terms of Section 93, subsection 4, subparagraph A of the Constitution. Emerson Tambudzo Mnangagwa is duly declared the winner of the presidential elections held on the 30th of July 2018. As indicated, there will be a fully dressed judgment in due course on these issues. Thank you, everybody. Come to the end of these long proceedings. We thank all those who participated. And, yes. So I didn't notice that I switched off. I was saying thank you very much, all of you who participated. As I said at the beginning, we thank the lawyers. At the end of the day, it is their submissions, regardless of which side they were, that has helped this court to arrive at a decision. And that is the purpose. The lawyers are not there. Lawyers are officers of court. And it is there that as a Chief Justice, I look upon our lawyers in Zimbabwe. The integrity lies in your status as a lawyer. And therefore, be proud to uphold those principles by which the public looks upon you. And we thank the public as well for having shown confidence in the judiciary. Whatever views you take, you are entitled to the views. They are your views. However, at the end of the day, we are all citizens of this country. We are Zimbabweans. We have all the right to belong. And let it be. I thank all of you.